the utopian society that I envision would be a communist society. And that is because we would have like a trade and barter system, so I could provide, what I'm good at providing, what I enjoy to provide, you could provide to our, to our shared society.
A stateless society?
Yes.
Yeah,
and
so,
I think that it would be very complicated to go from where we are right now.
So I can end this argument very quickly for you.
We're not arguing about it. I'm just stating my opinion.
No, I can actually change your mind about this. Hang on, I can change your entire mind about this. I promise.
Okay.
Inside of your stateless society, you would have to have an enforcement arm, like police officers or something like this, to deal with criminals, right? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't you? How could you enforce a hierarchy inside of your society without appealing to a hierarchy to do it?
Why would I need a hierarchy?
Because a stateless society is one without a hierarchy. We would agree that that's true. So if that is true, mm-hmm. how could you enforce the norms of a stateless society without appealing to a hierarchy to do so?
So the norms that would be in my stateless society, I don't know how big this, would be, but we're talking about a hypothetical, I guess. So in my stateless society, mm-hmm. the norms would be to commit ethical decisions. There would be a
What if somebody violates those?
Yeah. Then what?
Then you have enforcement to take care of that, right?
Because people will inevitably violate.
Yeah. So I've had this conversation before.
So if people will violate the norms of that society and you have to appeal to enforcement, that is a hierarchy.
Grid 1 Motorsports donated $200. Patriarchy values women, protect them and cherish them. The idea that it preys on women is absolutely trash intellectualism. Feminism has failed you. How may the patriarchy help you today?
Bingo.
Andrew, did you want to continue on with your point?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Oh, of course, go ahead.
So I'm just saying, think about the absurdity here. Inside of a stateless society, there can be no hierarchy. If you have a hierarchy, you have a state. How do you enforce the norms of your stateless society without appealing to a hierarchy?
It would be I guess it would be somewhat of a hierarchy. There's two levels: those who commit ethical decisions, mm-hmm. and those who do not commit ethical decisions. And what's decided to be ethical is decided upon by the community.
Sure.
And then in my mind, the only things that can really come up to me that would require severe punishment or what was the word that you were using?
Enforcement.
Enforcement, yes,
mm-hmm.
would be murder and essay.
No, there's tons of other things.
Theft?
Theft, all kinds of things.
I don't, in a society when there's not a sense of scarcity, I don't think that theft would be a problem, unless there's somebody that's a kleptomaniac. That would
Let's
be like
take all those off then. Just violence itself, violent crime, stuff like that. If you're going to have violent crimes inside of a society, you're going to have enforcers, big, strong enforcers to go take care of any violent criminals who exist, right? Like that's going to be necessary.
Wait,
right?
do you in your society that you envision, do you reject the idea that there would be a criminal element? You think it would be impossible for criminality to materialize?
Not necessarily. I don't think it would be necessarily impossible, but then again, I haven't seen a case study where a society lives like this, to see whether or not it would.
Why do you think it would be possible then?
For there to be a society without crime?
No,
or violence?
This stateless society that you're talking about, where nobody's stealing from one another, there's abundance everywhere, there's no scarcity, everybody's conforming to the same social norms, there's no hierarchy. I mean, you're describing what you call communism, but this is not. This is
very loose.
Communism has never played out like this.
Yeah.
You've had like small societies that have been communes where people have shared the same social values and they get along relatively well, but like. Can you name a single time in history when what you're describing has ever happened at scale?
No, that's why I said that this was like a utopic mm-hmm. type. This is where my values lie. And I do think that it would be very difficult for a society like the one that we have modernly to transition to this type of utopian society that I'm describing.
But if it's stateless, that would be absent hierarchy. Even inside of what you're describing is not stateless, because you say that there is a value group who assesses what is moral and is immoral and is ethical and not ethical. That in and of itself is going to be a hierarchy and thus not stateless.
I didn't use the word stateless. I didn't bring it up in
that you just agreed to.
But that is communism,
right?
Don't. Communism is a stateless society. That is what is postulated by communism, is it not?
I use the word communism very loosely. It's commune, so we're living in a community, and ism.
Wait, so are you saying in this utopian society that you desire to live in, what would be the population of said society? Because currently in the U.S., the population's over, 300 million?
330 million.
Yeah.
Right
okay.
now.
So are you talking like 200 people?
Something like that would be cool. I mean, I don't know how, because
Okay.
like I said, I haven't seen a case study, right? So I don't know how many.
So, okay,
we didn't
you
have
have
modes of
your society of
transport, for
200
example.
people. What do we do with the other 330 million people just in the United States? Do they
have their
also?
own society that have different ethical systems?
Okay,
And
what,
then-
what was your name
Okay.
again?
Caitlin.
Caitlin.
Yeah.
I say this with all due respect. I think this utopia that you're describing is fundamentally completely incompatible with human nature and will never exist at scale. Because, and I don't say this to insult you, but because human beings naturally organize themselves into hierarchies.
Do you have evidence of this that you could show me?
All of human
Every
history.
single-
When you walked
All of
into
human
this
history.
room, when you walked into this room to set up the podcast, there was a guy who was in charge, and he told you to go over there and fill out this form.
Yes.
And then he told you where you're going to sit, and he
Yes.
told you which mic you're going to speak into, and he told you everything. The very second we walked into this room, all of us together, the entire room was organized quickly by hierarchy, in a hierarchical structure, and everybody was told exactly what their role was.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes
Any time human beings organize in a group at all, there's always going to be leadership that emerges, but there's going to be somebody that's more confident, bolder,
Yes.
able to articulate themselves more clearly. They're going to rise in the hierarchy, particularly if they exercise good leadership abilities. There's going to be people that are less competent. People also temperamentally are wired in different ways. Some people are going to be more wired to serve others. Others are going to be more wired to lead. And hierarchies are just built into nature all around us.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily agree or disagree. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's not really super. So by hierarchy, for me, I guess I totally understand what you guys are saying. My visualization of it within this utopia is very much less intense than what we have now, where there's like, you know, the president that rules over everything, and all these corporations and lobbyists and whatever organizations subsidize government
So
decisions.
you like small
What's up?
government?
I don't mind
yeah,
small
go for it.
government.
Can I just ask a question
Yeah, go
really
for it.
quick? You guys will ask for evidence when, like, the opposing argument speaks, but we can't ask for evidence, and you guys
No, you
show
absolutely
us.
can. You,
Like,
you
would
can.
you would you
What-
would show us? Because like,
Are you
ex-
asking about
What
the
are you asking
evidence
for?
she asked for
No, just
in terms of
in
hierarchy?
general. I
no,
just
you can ask us for
noticed.
evidence.
But will you show us evidence if we
Well,
have
she
opposing?
did. She asked for evidence of a
Because
hierarchy,
if we
and I
we
gave her
can't
a logical
we can't take out our
demonstration of
phones
one.
and just show you
No,
empirical
but
evidence of
what we
things.
can do is just have a conversation where I can reference
Yeah.
things that have happened in history, and you can reference things that have happened in history, and
Yes, I just
you guys may be lying about it. You may be telling the truth. We won't know because we're not going to sit here and take out our phones and look it
we
up.
won't know either if your evidence is
Okay,
true.
well that's a bit meta. It's a bit
Modesty
meta.
It is,
with
but
donated
it's like I don't like the.
$200.
Do you have evidence
Imagine
of that
Brad's
Hold on.
shirt and
argument?
using brain at same time. Impossible.
Oh.
Communism only works when everyone perfect. Nobody is perfect, irony lies. Imagine pitching communism and not knowing what it is. Chase W.
We have. I need to get to one more
I wasn't
chat.
the one who made the
Yeah,
communism
she wasn't
argument.
talking about communism that
I don't.
time.
I'm not speaking on communism as a separate question.
Sure, that's fine. Hold on.
Is it-
Oh, wait. Let me read this. Looking forward to hearing from the three next to Brian. Should be a good convo. Chase, as always, thank you for being a role model for young men and progressing the good news of Jesus Christ. # Christ is Lord. Brady, hey, thank you very much. Sorry it took us a
Amen.
little while to get to it.
Thank you, Brady.
I had just one thing related to, I think, Andrew's questions here. Did we fully... well, I'll let... Okay, hold
Raven
on. I'll let this
DT
one come in.
donated $200. There was a Survivor show where they put all men on one
Oh, yeah,
island
yeah, yeah.
and all women
That
on
was
another.
hilarious.
Is that
In
Naked
a
and
couple of
Afraid?
days,
Yeah.
the women
No.
were cold
That's
and
the other one.
hungry, whereas the men had fire, food, and it was due to hierarchy.
That is
Yeah,
hilarious.
it was hilarious. That whole thing was hilarious.
That's so funny.
I've seen it. Yeah. Did we get to fully address? Did you have an answer when it came to the criminality component of your
I have a question
utopian
about that.
society? Do you have a solution?
I don't think it would be really a solution. I think it would depend on where the society starts. If we were to be able to fully and gently deconstruct capitalism in the way that it exists today, then maybe we could heal social wounds, for lack of better terms.
Don't you think this is
to-
pretty
Where-
lofty?
Very
lofty
delusional.
ideals?
Where are you learning this stuff? Who are you consuming these ideas from? Out of curiosity.
I've just done a lot of
Marx.
analysis of what's right and what's
But
wrong.
you're obviously like listening to influential people from maybe throughout history, reading books, YouTube, podcast.
I just have one question.
Okay.
That's it, just one. Can you name 2 communist thought leaders?
I said, okay. That's totally fair and a totally valid question.
Can you
I
name
mean,
2 communist
Karl
thought
Marx
leaders?
is like the best that I can give you honestly and fairly. And I can admit that, and I'm very okay with that.
Why in
But
the world
I
would you
used-
espouse an
You also
ideology if
probably
you
have-
don't even know the
I
names of
didn't
the thought leaders who espouse
spout an ideology. You said, did you guys, or do I believe in socialism, communism, whatever? I said communism just like to loosely use the term to describe
it? Okay, can you name
what I
2
have.
socialist thought leaders?
I didn't say anything about me being socialist.